My 89-year-old mother handed my brother's 28-year-old wife our family heirlooms. I said nothing, just hired a private investigator. 3 weeks later, when the courtroom doors opened, and my brother's face went white, the afternoon sun filtered through the lace curtains of my childhood home, casting familiar shadows across the Persian rug where I'd played as a girl. I was supposed to be helping Mother sort through old tax documents, the mundane task that had brought me to her Victorian brownstone on this particular Tuesday. Instead, I found myself frozen in the doorway of her bedroom, watching something that made my blood run cold. My mother, Eleanor Whitmore, sat at her antique vanity with its oval mirror and intricate brass handles. At 89, she still maintained the posture of the debutante she'd been in 1955, spine straight as a finishing school ruler. But it wasn't her posture that arrested my attention. It was what she was doing with her hands. One by one, she was placing jewelry into velvet pouches. Not just any jewelry. These were the pieces that had defined our family's legacy for 3 generations. The sapphire necklace that great-grandmother Adelaide had worn when she danced with a Vanderbilt. The Art Deco bracelet grandmother Catherine received on her wedding day in 1932. The ruby brooch that had survived the stock market crash, 2 world wars, and a house fire in 1967. Mother? My voice came out strangled. What are you doing? She turned, and for a moment I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Defiance? Fear? Before her features smoothed into that pleasant, vague expression she'd been wearing more often lately. Oh, Diane, you startled me, dear. She tucked a strand of silver hair behind her ear, her hands, those beautiful, aristocratic hands that had taught me to play piano and tie my shoes, trembling slightly. I'm just organizing things. You know how cluttered everything has become. I stepped closer, my heels clicking on the hardwood floor. The velvet pouches were lined up like soldiers on her vanity, each one bulging with treasures. I recognized the burgundy pouch that held the diamond earrings, the forest green one with the pearl set, the midnight blue that could only contain one thing, the show-stopping sapphire and platinum necklace, the crown jewel of the Whitmore collection. Organizing them into what exactly? I picked up the midnight blue pouch, feeling its weight. Mother, these need to stay in the safe. Oh, Diane, don't be such a worrywart. She waved a dismissive hand, but her eyes wouldn't meet mine. I'm giving them to someone who'll appreciate them. Someone young and beautiful who'll actually wear them instead of leaving them to gather dust in a dark box. My stomach dropped. Who? Sienna, of course. She said it as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Your brother's wife. Such a lovely girl. She was here yesterday, and I thought how absolutely radiant the sapphires would look against her skin. That gorgeous complexion of hers, like honey, I told her. The necklace will be stunning on her at the charity gala next month. I had to sit down. The needlepoint chair behind me caught me just as my knees gave out. Sienna. My brother Marcus's wife of exactly 11 months. 28 years old to his 53. A former yoga instructor turned wellness influencer with 200,000 Instagram followers and an alarming interest in manifestation and crystals. A woman who'd met my brother at a spiritual retreat in Sedona and married him 6 weeks later in a ceremony featuring a sound bath and barefoot vows at sunset. A woman I'd tried desperately to give the benefit of the doubt, right up until this moment. Mother. I fought to keep my voice steady. Those pieces are family heirlooms. They're supposed to pass down through the bloodline.
To me.
We've discussed this. Have we? She blinked at me with those faded blue eyes that had once been sharp enough to spot a crooked seam from across a room. I don't remember that conversation. That was the problem, wasn't it? Lately, Mother didn't remember lots of conversations. She'd missed 3 doctor's appointments last month. She'd called me Catherine twice, her mother's name. Last week, she'd put her purse in the refrigerator and spent an hour looking for it. And Sienna had been visiting her. Alone. Frequently. When did Sienna suggest this? I asked carefully. Suggest? Mother's laugh was light, airy. Oh, she didn't suggest anything. I offered. The poor dear, admired the sapphires so much. She has such an eye for beauty. She's going to look absolutely gorgeous in them. I closed my eyes, counting to 10 in Italian the way my therapist had taught me. Uno, due, tre. Mother, I need you to listen to me very carefully. I opened my eyes and leaned forward. These pieces represent our family history. Great-grandmother Adelaide, grandmother Catherine, they meant for these to stay in the family, not to be given away to. I caught myself before I said something truly ugly. To someone who just married into it. Mother's face hardened, and suddenly I could see the woman who'd intimidated country club committees and reduced incompetent contractors to tears. Diane Elizabeth Whitmorton, are you suggesting your brother's wife isn't family? I'm suggesting she's barely been family for a year, and these pieces have been in our family for nearly a century. Well, you're not getting any younger yourself, Mother snapped. 56 years old, divorced, no children. At least Marcus gave me the joy of grandchildren from his first marriage, even if they don't visit. Sienna wants to start a family. My jewelry will mean something to her children. Your children. Well, that ship has sailed, hasn't it? The words hit like a slap. Mother had never been cruel, not even in her sharpest moments. This wasn't her. This was grief, confusion, maybe early dementia. Or this was manipulation, carefully planted by someone who knew exactly which buttons to push. I stood up, the pouches clutched in my hands. I'm taking these back to the safe. We can discuss this when you're feeling more yourself. I am myself. Mother's voice rose. And I'm perfectly capable of deciding what to do with my own property. Give those back, Diane. No. The word hung between us, sharp and irrevocable. Mother's face flushed red, and for a terrible moment, I thought she might try to physically wrestle them from me. Instead, she reached for her phone, the iPhone Marcus had insisted on buying her, even though she barely knew how to use it. I'm calling Marcus, she said, her fingers fumbling with the screen. You have no right. Mother, please. I softened my voice. I'm not trying to take anything from you. I'm trying to protect you. And I'm trying to protect what our family has preserved for generations. But she'd already pressed something, and I heard Marcus's voice, smooth and condescending, float from the speaker. Mother? What's wrong? Your sister is stealing my jewelry. I could actually hear Marcus's smirk through the phone. Is she now? Put her on. Mother thrust the phone at me like a weapon. I took it, stepping into the hallway. I'm not stealing anything, I said before Marcus could start. I'm preventing Mother from making a decision she'll regret. She was giving away the family jewelry to Sienna. There was a pause. Too long. Too calculated. So, Marcus finally said, they're Mother's to give. They're family heirlooms, Marcus. They should stay in the family, be passed down properly. You know this. We've discussed the succession of these pieces since we were children. Sienna is family. His voice had that edge now, the one that meant he was getting defensive. And frankly, Diane, your attitude toward my wife has been problematic from the start. Just because you're bitter about your own failed marriage doesn't mean. Don't. I cut him off. Don't make this about my divorce. This is about a woman who's known Mother for less than a year, convincing her to hand over jewelry worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Convincing? Marcus laughed, that practice laugh he used in his real estate negotiations. Diane, you always think the worst of people. Mother loves Sienna. She wants her to have nice things. Why is that so hard for you to accept? Because it's not normal. I was nearly shouting now. Because Mother is showing signs of cognitive decline, and your wife has been visiting her alone, and now suddenly she's giving away irreplaceable family treasures. How do you not see what's happening here? Silence. Then Marcus's voice, ice cold. Are you accusing my wife of elder abuse? The words made it real, gave shape to the formless dread that had been building in my chest. I'm saying it looks suspicious. Very suspicious. You know what's suspicious, Diane? You, swooping in the moment you think you might not get your inheritance. This is about money for you, isn't it? It's always been about money. That's not fair. Put Mother back on. I walked back into the bedroom. Mother sat exactly where I'd left her, her hands folded in her lap, looking smaller somehow. Older. I handed her the phone. Yes, dear, she said to Marcus. Whatever he said made her nod, then look at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Suspicion. Yes. Yes, I understand. I'll call him right away. She hung up and looked at me with those clouded eyes. Marcus says you're trying to steal from me. He says I should call my lawyer and have you removed from my will. The room tilted. Mother, no. That's not. I'm trying to help you. You can leave now, Diane. Take your jealousy and your bitterness with you. Mother. Leave. I left. What else could I do? But I took the velvet pouches with me, and as I drove away from that Victorian brownstone, I made a decision. I was going to find out exactly what Sienna was up to, and I was going to stop her, even if it destroyed what was left of my family in the process. Part 2. The Investigation. The law offices of Pemberton and Associates occupied the 14th floor of a glass tower in the financial district, all sleek furniture and original artwork that screamed, "We're expensive, but we win." I'd called in every favor. I had to get an appointment with Robert Pemberton himself on 24 hours' notice. He was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with salt and pepper hair and the kind of tailored suit that costs more than most people's monthly rent. He listened to my story without interrupting, his fingers steepled under his chin. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Chun, I'll be frank with you. What you're describing is concerning, but it's not necessarily illegal. How is manipulating an elderly woman into giving away her assets not illegal? Because proving manipulation is extremely difficult. He pulled out a legal pad. Your mother is 89 but hasn't been declared incompetent. She's not under a conservatorship. She has the legal right to dispose of her property as she wishes. Even if she's showing signs of dementia? Even then, unless a doctor has formally diagnosed her and declared her unable to make financial decisions. He tapped his pen against the pad. Has she been evaluated? I shook my head. She refuses to see a neurologist. Says there's nothing wrong with her. Then legally her decisions stand. Now, if you could prove that Sienna was using undue influence, actively manipulating, coercing, or isolating your mother, you might have a case. But that's a high bar. What counts as undue influence? Pemberton consulted his notes. Typically, we look for patterns. Is the person isolated from other family members? Has the relationship between the elder and the influencer changed dramatically? Are there suspicious financial transactions? Has the elder's will been recently changed to favor this person? My heart sank. I don't know. Marcus handles mother's finances now. He took over about 6 months ago, right after he married Sienna. Pemberton's eyebrows rose. That's interesting. And your mother agreed to this. She said it was easier than dealing with all the paperwork herself. Marcus is her son. She trusts him. Mrs. Chun, I'm going to be very honest with you. Based on what you've told me, I'd recommend you hire a private investigator. Document everything. Every visit Sienna makes to your mother, every gift, every financial transaction you can access. Build a case before you make any legal moves. Because if you go to court with what you have now, you'll lose, and you'll permanently damage your relationship with your mother and brother. I think that ship has sailed. He smiled grimly. It can always get worse. Trust me. I left his office $500 poorer and hired a private investigator named Rachel Moreno, a former police detective who specialized in elder abuse cases. She was 50-something, with sharp eyes and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who'd seen the worst of human nature and couldn't be shocked anymore. First thing you need to understand, she said when we met at a coffee shop near her office, is that these cases are more common than you think. The perpetrator is usually a family member or caregiver. Often, they justify it to themselves, they convince themselves they deserve the money, or they're just helping the elder manage their finances. Sienna is neither a caregiver nor a longtime family. Rachel pulled out a tablet, which actually makes this more clear-cut if we can prove predatory behavior. Tell me everything you know about her. I did. How Marcus had met her at the retreat. The whirlwind courtship. The age gap. Her social media presence, which I'd admittedly stalked more than was probably healthy. Her lifestyle brand promoting crystals, meditation, and something she called abundance manifestation. Rachel typed notes. Abundance manifestation. That's actually a red flag in these cases. People who are drawn to these philosophies sometimes justify taking from others by claiming the universe is providing for them. In their minds, they're not stealing, they're receiving what they've manifested. That's insane. That's human psychology. Rachel looked up. How often does Sienna visit your mother? I don't know exactly. More than I do, apparently. We'll find out. I'll start surveillance tomorrow. I'll also do a deep background check, criminal history, financial records, previous relationships. Sometimes these people have a pattern. And if she's clean? Rachel smiled without humor. Nobody's clean if you dig deep enough. But the question isn't whether she's perfect. It's whether she's deliberately targeting your mother. Give me 2 weeks. We'll have answers. I left feeling simultaneously better and worse. Better because I was doing something. Worse because I was investigating my brother's wife, surveilling my own mother's house, treating my family like criminals. But I couldn't shake the image of mother's hands, trembling as she placed jewelry into velvet pouches. Or the way Sienna had admired those sapphires. The investigation began. And what Rachel found made my blood run cold. Part 3. The pattern. Rachel's first report came 5 days later. We met at the same coffee shop, but this time, she carried a thick folder that landed on the table between us with an ominous thud. Your instincts were right, she said without preamble. Sienna Marquez, which isn't her real name, by the way, has a history. I opened the folder with shaking hands. Inside were photographs, financial records, and what looked like police reports. Her real name is Sarah Jennings. She's 31, not 28. And this isn't her first marriage to a wealthy older man. The photos showed a younger Sienna, Sarah, with different hair, different style, but unmistakably the same woman. Next to her stood an elderly man, silver-haired and distinguished. That's Harold Chun, no relation to you, despite the name. Real estate developer in Portland. He married Sarah 6 years ago when he was 74 and she was 25. They met at a yoga studio where she worked. He died 18 months later, leaving her his entire estate, approximately $4.3 million. My stomach churned. How did he die? Heart attack. Natural causes, according to the autopsy. But here's where it gets interesting. Rachel pulled out more documents. 3 months before his death, Harold changed his will. Cut out his 2 adult children completely. There was a legal challenge, but Sienna won. The judge ruled Harold was of sound mind when he made the changes. But he wasn't. His children claimed he was showing signs of dementia. They had a doctor willing to testify to that effect. But Sarah had 3 doctors who said he was fine, doctors he'd started seeing after meeting Sarah. The case was eventually settled. Sarah kept most of the money. The kids got the house. I flipped through more pages. Bank statements. Property records. A pattern emerging like a photograph in Developer Solution. After Harold died, Sarah moved to Arizona. Changed her name to Sienna Marquez, her mother's maiden name. Joined the spiritual wellness community in Sedona. And that's where she met Marcus. Rachel pulled up something on her tablet. But here's what your brother doesn't know. 6 months before meeting Marcus, Sienna was in a relationship with another man. Charles Westbrook, age 62, divorced, wealthy. They were together for 4 months before he broke it off. I contacted him. She turned the tablet toward me. There was a phone number and a transcript of what appeared to be an interview. Charles said Sienna became obsessed with his money. Started pushing him to change his will, to give her power of attorney, to put her name on his accounts. He said she was incredibly convincing, made him feel young again, special, understood. But when she started asking about his mother's jewelry, he got suspicious and ended things. He called her the most dangerous kind of predator, the kind that doesn't think she's doing anything wrong. I couldn't breathe. The coffee shop sounds faded to white noise. Does Marcus know any of this? I doubt it. She's covered her tracks well. Different name, different city, different story. To Marcus, she's just a free-spirited yoga instructor who fell in love with him. I bet she's told him some version of, "I never thought I could fall for someone older, but you're different." Rachel wasn't wrong. That was almost verbatim what Marcus had told me Sienna said to him. There's more. Rachel pulled out surveillance photos. My mother's house, taken from various angles. In each one, Sienna was arriving or leaving, always with shopping bags or flowers. She's been visiting her mother 3 to 4 times a week. Always when you're not there. And look at this. She showed me a photo taken through mother's front window. Technically legal, Rachel assured me, as it was taken from a public street. Sienna sat next to mother on the sofa, holding her hand, showing her something on her phone. I managed to get close enough once to hear part of their conversation, Rachel said. Sienna was talking about energy and the universe providing. She told your mother that objects carry energy and that holding on to things was blocking abundance. She said giving away the jewelry would free your mother's spirit. I wanted to be sick. She's brainwashing her. She's using spiritual manipulation. It's shockingly effective on vulnerable people, especially older folks who are looking for meaning or afraid of death. Sienna positions herself as a spiritual guide. Your mother probably feels grateful to her, enlightened even. What about financial transactions? Pemberton said I needed proof of those. Rachel's expression darkened. That's where it gets murky. I can't access your mother's bank accounts without legal authority. But I did notice this. She showed me more photos. Sienna's been wearing new jewelry, expensive pieces, and her social media posts have increased, more luxury items, designer bags, a new car. Yet according to her tax returns, which I obtained through, let's say, creative means, she has no reportable income beyond what she makes from her Instagram sponsorships, which is minimal. So Marcus is funding her lifestyle. Or your mother is. Or both. Rachel closed her folder. Here's my recommendation. You need to talk to Marcus. Show him this evidence. He needs to know who he married. He won't believe me. He'll say I'm jealous or vindictive. Then you need to go nuclear. File for emergency conservatorship of your mother based on diminished capacity. It'll force a medical evaluation. If she's diagnosed with dementia or cognitive decline, you can void any financial transactions made while she was impaired. That'll destroy my family. Rachel looked at me with something like pity. Mrs. Chun, I hate to break it to you, but your family is already destroyed. The only question now is whether you're going to save what you can or let Sienna take everything. Part 4. The confrontation. I tried to talk to Marcus first. I really did. I called him 17 times over 3 days. He ignored every call. I emailed him Rachel's report. He replied with 2 words, "Stop harassing me." So I showed up at his house, the modern glass monstrosity in the hills that he bought with money from his real estate firm. It was 7 p.m. on a Saturday. I knew they'd be home because Sienna had posted an Instagram story 2 hours earlier, a meditation candle, a brass singing bowl, and the caption Saturday night gratitude practice folded hands sparkles. Marcus answered the door in expensive loungewear, his face hardening when he saw me.
Diane.
We don't want you here. I need 5 minutes. You need to leave. Marcus, please. I have information about Sienna that you need to see. Information? You mean the disgusting lies you've been paying someone to fabricate? He held up his phone. Sienna told me about your PI. How you've been stalking her, harassing her previous partners, making up conspiracy theories. Of course she knew. Of course she'd gotten ahead of this. They're not lies. Her real name is Sarah Jennings. She married a man in Portland who died and left her millions. She changed her name and moved to Arizona. She's done this before, Marcus. Sarah Jennings is her birth name, you idiot. Sienna appeared behind Marcus, wearing flowing white linen that made her look like an ethereal being. Her voice was calm, almost pitying. I changed it to Sienna because I wanted to shed my past and embrace a new spiritual path. My ex-husband and I had a beautiful relationship until he passed away. He left me money because he loved me and wanted me cared for. There's nothing sinister about that. What about Charles Westbrook? Her expression didn't flicker. A man I briefly dated who became controlling and possessive when I wouldn't tolerate his jealousy. He's clearly still bitter. She was good. No, she was exceptional. Every answer delivered with just the right mix of wounded innocence and dignified composure. Mother is giving you family heirlooms worth hundreds of thousands of dollars after knowing you for less than a year, I said. You're isolating her from me, filling her head with spiritual manipulation. I'm not isolating Eleanor from anyone. She's an adult who's chosen to spend more time with me because I actually listen to her. I don't treat her like a child or a cash machine. Sienna stepped forward, and there was steel beneath the flowing linen now. The truth is, Diane, you're terrified that Eleanor loves me, that she's chosen me, that when she passes, those heirlooms will be mine, and there's nothing you can do about it. Marcus. I turned to my brother desperately. Think about this logically. Doesn't any of this seem strange to you? The age gap, the speed of your marriage, the way she's inserted herself into Mother's life. The only thing that's strange, Marcus said coldly, is my sister turning into a bitter, paranoid stalker. Sienna and I are in love. Mother adores her. The only problem here is you and your inability to be happy for us. I want to show you something. Sienna pulled out her phone. Eleanor asked me to record this for you, Diane. She wanted you to understand. She pressed play. Mother's face filled the screen, filmed in the Victorian brownstone's living room. She looked directly into the camera. Diane, if you're watching this, I want you to know that I am of sound mind and clear judgment. Sienna is like the daughter I never had. I felt that one like a physical blow. And I want her to have my jewelry. I want her to wear it, to love it, to pass it down to her children. You've made it clear through your actions that you only care about these things as assets, as money. That's not what they're meant to be. They're meant to be loved. Sienna loves them. She loves me. And I'm giving them to her freely, of my own will. If you continue to harass her or Marcus, I'll have no choice but to remove you from my will entirely and bar you from my home. I hope you'll choose to be the daughter I raised instead of the greedy stranger you've become. The video ended. In the silence that followed, I could hear my own heartbeat. Get off my property, Marcus said. And if you come back, I'll call the police. The door closed in my face. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, shaking. Then I drove to Robert Pemberton's emergency number and left a message. File for emergency conservatorship. I don't care what it costs or what it destroys. File it now. Part 5. The Trial. The conservatorship hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. It felt like 3 years. I had to find a doctor willing to evaluate Mother and testify to her diminished capacity. I had to compile evidence of Sienna's undue influence. I had to prepare for the reality that I was about to accuse my own mother of being incompetent in open court. Marcus hired his own lawyers, a team from a firm that handled celebrity divorces and high-stakes litigation. They filed a motion to dismiss, claiming I was maliciously attacking a lucid woman's autonomy. They submitted the video Sienna had made as evidence. They had 3 character witnesses prepared to testify to Mother's mental clarity, but Rachel had been busy too. She'd found Harold Chen's children, and they agreed to testify about their father's eerily similar situation. She'd gotten Charles Westbrook to appear via video deposition. Most importantly, she'd found Mother's longtime physician, Dr. Patricia Hughes, who was willing to testify that Mother had missed appointments and shown clear signs of memory loss and confusion during her last visit. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, a judge who looked tired before the proceedings even began. Mother sat with Marcus and Sienna, the 3 of them united against me. Mother wore pearls and a navy suit, looking every inch the dignified society matron. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Judge Patricia Crenshaw called the hearing to order. She was in her 60s, with short gray hair and reading glasses on a chain. She looked like somebody's grandmother, which I hoped would work in my favor. Pemberton presented our case methodically. Dr. Hughes testified about Mother's cognitive decline, the missed appointments, the repeated questions, the confusion about dates and names. She'd administered a basic cognitive test during Mother's last visit, and Mother had scored poorly. In my professional opinion, Dr. Hughes said, Mrs. Whitmore is in the early stages of dementia, likely Alzheimer's. She should not be making major financial decisions without oversight. Marcus's lawyer, a shark named David Rothstein, cross-examined her viciously. But you never formally diagnosed her with Alzheimer's, did you? The family declined further testing. So, this is speculation. It's a medical opinion based on 40 years of experience and 20 years as Mrs. Whitmore's physician. Opinion, not fact. Rothstein smiled. No further questions. Harold Chen's daughter testified next via video. She was my age, articulate, and angry. Sarah Jennings destroyed our family, she said. She isolated our father, convinced him we were trying to steal from him, and walked away with everything. When I see what she's doing to Mrs. Whitmore, it's like watching a horror movie for the second time. You know exactly what's coming, but you can't stop it. Rothstein objected repeatedly, claiming prejudice and irrelevance. Judge Crenshaw allowed the testimony but warned the jury, which was really just her, since conservatorship hearings don't have juries, to consider it carefully. Then it was time for Sienna to testify. She wore cream linen and minimal makeup, her hair in a simple bun. She looked young, innocent, sincere. She took the oath and sat down, folding her hands in her lap. Rothstein led her through a series of softball questions. How did she meet Eleanor? What was their relationship like? Did she ever pressure Eleanor for anything? Never, Sienna said, her voice breaking slightly. Eleanor is like a mother to me. My own mother died when I was young, and Eleanor filled that space in my heart. We talk about life, about love, about spirituality. She's teaching me about family history, and I'm helping her explore meditation and mindfulness. It's beautiful and pure, and it breaks my heart that Diane has twisted it into something ugly. Did you ask Mrs. Whitmore for her jewelry? Absolutely not.
She offered them to me,
she said. Sienna's eyes glistened. She said she wanted someone who would love them as much as she did. Someone who would wear them and treasure them, not lock them away. It was such a generous, loving gesture, and I was honored. And the video Mrs. Whitmore made? That was her idea entirely. She was upset about Diane's accusations and wanted to make her feelings clear. I just held the camera. It was a masterful performance. Even I almost believed her. Then Pemberton stood up for cross-examination. Ms. Marquez, or should I say Ms. Jennings? My legal name is Sienna Marquez. But you were born Sarah Jennings, correct? Yes. And you changed your name after your first husband, Harold Chen, died and left you his estate. I changed my name as part of my spiritual transformation. The timing was coincidental. Coincidental. Pemberton pulled out documents. You married Harold Chen 3 months after meeting him. He changed his will 4 months into your marriage. He died 6 months later. Is that timeline correct? Yes, but... And during those 6 months, Harold's relationship with his adult children deteriorated significantly, didn't it? They were hostile to me from the start. Hostile or concerned? Pemberton showed her a document. This is an email from Harold's daughter, sent 2 months before his death. She's pleading with him to see a neurologist because he's been forgetting things. Do you remember trying to prevent that appointment? I didn't prevent anything. Harold didn't want to go. He was embarrassed. Or you were afraid a diagnosis would void his will change? Rothstein objected. Judge Crenshaw sustained it. But the seed was planted. Pemberton continued. Let's talk about Charles Westbrook. You dated him for 4 months last year, correct? Briefly, yes. He's testified that you asked him repeatedly to change his will and give you access to his finances. Is that true? We discussed our future together. That includes financial planning. After 4 months? When you know, you know. She smiled, but it was tighter now. Like you knew with Marcus after 6 weeks? Objection. Rothstein was on his feet. Counsel is badgering the witness. Sustained. Mr. Pemberton, move on. But Pemberton had made his point. He returned to the jewelry. How many times did you visit Mrs. Whitmore in the month before she decided to give you the jewelry?
I don't know exactly.
Several times. According to surveillance evidence, you visited 12 times in 4 weeks. Always when Diane was not present. Is that accurate? Sienna's composure cracked slightly. I don't know. I didn't count. Eleanor and I enjoy each other's company. And during these visits, did you discuss spiritual topics? Energy, abundance, manifestation? Sometimes. Eleanor is interested in. Did you tell her that holding on to material possessions blocks spiritual growth? That's a common Buddhist teaching. Did you tell her that giving away her jewelry would free her spirit? Sienna hesitated. I may have discussed how attachment causes suffering. And did you suggest that giving the jewelry to you, specifically, would be an act of spiritual liberation? That's not how it happened. No. Pemberton pulled up Rachel's photos on a screen. There was Sienna sitting next to Mother, showing her something on her phone. This was taken 2 days before Mrs. Whitmore decided to give you the jewelry. What were you showing her? I don't remember. According to the investigator who took this photo, she overheard you discussing energy and abundance. You were showing Mrs. Whitmore pictures of yourself wearing jewelry. Does that refresh your memory? Sienna's face flushed. I was showing her my Instagram. She likes to see my posts. Your Instagram posts where you frequently wear expensive jewelry and promote a luxury lifestyle, despite having no significant income? I have sponsorships worth approximately $15,000 a year, according to your tax returns. Yet you've purchased over $80,000 in luxury goods in the past 6 months. Where did that money come from? My husband provides for me. Your husband, whose mother is giving you jewelry worth $300,000. Very convenient. Objection. Rothstein was shouting now. Your Honor, this is character assassination, pure and simple. Mr. Pemberton, Judge C.